Dear beloved, today we will be meditating on the title, God's Favor. The favor of God is the abundant kindness He bestows upon us. In this recording, let's delve into the effects of God's favor on a person's life. In the Bible, we read about a man named Joseph, a beloved son of his father Jacob. Jacob showed his love for Joseph by giving him a special coat of many colors, which made his brothers envious and resentful. Despite the challenges he faced, Joseph was favored by God and received dreams that revealed his future greatness, which intensified his brothers' jealousy. So they conspired against him to kill him and cast him into a pit. But God's favor intervened through Reuben to save him from their hands. God used Reuben to prevent Joseph's brothers from killing him. So they abandoned the plan of killing him, but decided to throw him into a pit instead. They threw him into an empty pit with no water. The Lord's favor destroyed the wicked plans of his brothers and saved him from death. Now, as they sat down to eat a meal, they saw a company of the Ishmaelites going down to Egypt. God's favor intervened through Judah, using him to bring Joseph out of the pit. His brothers sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. Now the Lord's favor saved Joseph from the pit of death. Then the Ishmaelites took Joseph as a slave to Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. The scripture tells us that the Lord was with Joseph, making him a successful man and causing all he did to prosper. The Lord's favor enabled Joseph to prosper in all his endeavors. The Lord's favor also brought him favor in the eyes of Potiphar. So he made him overseer of his house and gave him authority over everything he had. In Potiphar's house, his wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." But Joseph feared God, saying, "How I will sin against God," he fled from her presence. So God helped Joseph to escape the snare of sin and protected him from sinning. So the Lord's favor protected and helped Joseph to escape the snare of sin. Now Joseph was falsely accused by the woman and was imprisoned. When Joseph was in the prison, righteousness and truth was hidden. But at the right time, the Lord brought forth his righteousness as the light and his justice as the noonday. So the Lord's favor brought Joseph's righteousness and justice at the right time. Now in the prison, the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. So he committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison, and he did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority. The Lord was with Joseph. He received favor in the eyes of Potiphar and the keeper of the prison. So the Lord's favor brought Joseph the favor in the eyes of humans. Next, the Lord's favor brought honor to Joseph. The Pharaoh had dreams. The Lord showed the things to come in the upcoming years in the dreams. But he was not able to understand the meaning of the dreams. Neither his men were able to interpret the dreams. Now the Lord's favor on Joseph worked through the chief butler. The Pharaoh was told that Joseph can interpret his dreams. So they brought Joseph before Pharaoh from the prison. The Lord's favor revealed to him the meaning of the dream, and he was able to say the meaning to the Pharaoh. Now no one in the land was as discerning and wise as Joseph. So the Pharaoh set him over all the Egypt. The Lord's favor took Joseph from the prison and set him on the place of honor. God blessed all that Joseph did because the Lord was with him. The favor of God turns the harm into good and brings reconciliation. The Lord set Joseph above his brothers who conspired to kill him. They intended to harm him, But the Lord's favor turned the harm plotted by his brothers into good. God fed his family and provided their needs through Joseph's hands. The family reconciled with each other by the favor of God. What was the reason for God's favor to be upon Joseph? The scripture emphasizes that God's mercy is everlasting for those who fear him, and his righteousness extends to future generations. Joseph exemplified this by fearing God and receiving his mercy and favor in all circumstances. Joseph's humility also played a key role in his blessings. He remained humble despite his elevated status in Potiphar's house and in the prison. The scripture tells us God's grace is bestowed upon the humble. Joseph's humility and the fear of God led him to receive grace and favor from the Lord. If anyone says, I pray every day, I read the Bible, I help the poor, I do not sin, yet I am not blessed. I do not see prosperity in my works. I'm always stuck somewhere. I'm always in trouble, always in bondage and dishonor. This is for you. Take this to heart. God was with Joseph because he walked in the fear of God and humility. Are we walking in the fear of God and humility like Joseph did? God's grace and love gave his only begotten Son Jesus for our salvation. Will he not do much more if we walk in fear of God and humility? When we walk in the fear of God and humility, God will be with us and show his favor like how he showed to Joseph. Then God's favor will destroy every evil plan plotted against us. God's favor will protect us from death and the pits of death. Then God's favor will enable us to prosper, and God's favor will help us to escape the snares of sin and bring favor in the eyes of humans. And then God's favor will also bring honor to us. The Lord's favor transforms the intended harm into good and brings reconciliation between us and others. All that we need to do is to fear God and stay humble. God bless you.